What is up YouTube, and welcome to this New Mutants video. It's been a while since this movie was announced and the world has changed so very much. It was due to finally come out and then there was a global pandemic. And since it was announced, Endgame has become the biggest movie ever. Zack Snyder has returned with the Snyder Cut and Disney has finally bought Fox. Much has been made of this movie, and was it tooled to fit in with the MCU? Will it redeem the X-Men brand after the two stinkers, Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix? Well, no to both, I'm afraid. The closest we get here to a continuation of, well, anything is the hint towards the arrival of Mr. Sinister since the X-Men Apocalypse end credit scene, but more on that in a bit. As a whole, I actually enjoyed the movie at face value. I think it's time to normalise actually knowing the difference between enjoying things and just thinking that things are a bit rubbish. But there was that lingering thought at the back of my mind, wondering why they made New Mutants a horror movie and did not stick to the source material, mainly because they didn't actually make a decent horror movie. Yes, the whole class thing has been done, but a class following in the footsteps of Cyclops and co would be great fun, and the team working together towards a common goal of an enemy, or possibly even Donald Pierce as kind of part of an homage to the comics, would have been a bit more interesting than just a few interactions and a paint-by-numbers trauma of each character. This is definitely one to wait for Disney Plus if you are actually on the fence, but it has great performances, which shaves it a small bit. But let's get into the Easter eggs and references, and as always, there will be spoilers here for this video, and if you want more from us, consider subscribing with notifications on, and drop a like if you did enjoy the video. We open with the story of the demon bear, as Moonstar is running from what she actually thinks is a tornado ravaging where she lives on a reservation and the rest of her family. But they are actually fleeing the demon bear. This is similar to the comics, as when her powers first manifested in the comics, she saw an image of her parents dying with a huge bear over bodies of a horse and an eagle, representing both of her parents. However, this is where it diverges, is that in the comic, her parents walk up to the mountains and have a kind of a hike up there, and later on they went missing and were presumed to be dead. The bear had taken her parents and wanted to take her too, and well, this is where she's actually saved and she joined Charles Xavier's school, and the movie does actually diverge heavily from the source material. The comic essentially has a new class of mutants after Cyclops and co actually graduate, but here they are actually the mercy of the Essex Corporation. The demon bear attacks her in the comics, leading her to be badly injured and taken to hospital, where it possesses all of the adults and Magic has to fight it in the Badlands. It's interesting because Ileana is actually not really mentioned by her codename Magic. She just says, "I'm Magic." That's literally an interesting kind of Easter egg there. And the Badlands is actually the plane of existence where it's presumed the bear is from, different to where they fight, kind of mixing between our Earth and Limbo. Danny wakes up in the facility in the movie, and we later find out that it's run by the Essex Corporation, which is a hint towards Mr. Sinister. She is greeted by Dr. Cecilia Reyes. Cecilia Reyes is actually a mutant in the comics, just like she is here in the movie, but she has a different story. Her parents were murdered and the X-Men actually attempted to recruit her to no avail. She only joined when an anti-mutant task force was set up, and her powers actually remain the same in both the comics and also the movie, except in the movie she's a psycho kid killer, despite hinting that they can actually graduate to Xavier's school. Danny is introduced to 4 other young teenagers: Sam Guthrie, Ileana Rasputin, Roberto da Costa, and Rain Sinclair. Sam Guthrie is Cannonball, and his story is sort of similar, but in the comics he didn't kill his father. His father died from coal dust inhalation, but he did panic later on when he had to be in the mines, and his powers manifested later. He was recruited by Hell Club member Donald Pierce, who used him to attack some young mutants Xavier had put together, but was later invited to join the New Mutants. Ileana Rasputin was a curious one, as she has a major connection to the main X-Men roster, and that is because in the comics she is the sister of Colossus, who was most recently seen in Deadpool 2. And it further makes me sad that this is a horror Arkham Asylum style movie instead of X-Men the New Class. She was kidnapped by a character called Belasco and taken to Limbo. The movie, Ileana says that she made it up and it's just a small pocket universe, but here in the comics, it was actually kind of presumed to be the nexus of all realities. She's wildly more powerful in the Limbo realm, and the armor she summons her in the movie and is the Eldritch armor that appears when she uses her soul sword. It looks similar in the movie to Colossus's armor appearing over himself, and the changes here, I'm not sure why they've done it. Her toy Lockheed actually becomes real in Limbo and in the comics, as well as the movie. Kitty Pryde in the comics told her a bedtime story about the X-Men being fairy tale characters, and the dragon was based on the Blackbird jet, which is actually made by Lockheed Martin. Kitty met a dragon later on and bonds with Ileana, and it seems they're kind of taking that and running with that here in the actual movie. Now, Robert DaCosta's origin was actually, in the comics, born of racism, as he was knocked to the ground by attackers, and that's when his powers first manifested, and he beat the heck out of them, not realizing that he actually had super strength and obviously, fire. He was later recruited by Donald Pierce, just like Sam Guthrie, which explains their friendship in the movie, and in the comics he later ended up buying Advanced Idea Mechanics. Now, moving on, Rain Sinclair, played by Maisie Williams, she did a great job in the movie. I thought she was great. Her origin is similar to the movie, but instead of being after, or at least thought of being a witch, she was actually a werewolf in the comics. And after this happened, the whole story of the religious people kind of really castigating her, she was taken to America by Moira McTaggart and sent to Professor Xavier to actually help him defeat Donald Pierce and the Hellfire Club. Now, they all think they're being trained to join the X-Men and are constantly told they are dangerous, as Danny and Rain start to have a relationship which takes their deep friendship in the comics just one step further, and I really like this touching moment. The team start to see, or at least see, visions of their past and what brought them to the facility, and this starts to manifest itself as we kind of learn what brought them there through this, which I really like that storytelling technique. I do give props to that. Sam was seeing his father and other coal miners. Ileana was seeing traffickers and kidnappers warped to have a smiling face, which is why she actually created the safe space of Limbo for her and Lockheed. Now, her story is similar to the comics, as she was kidnapped, and I expect that is how it happened here in the movie. Roberto sees his dead girlfriend, who he killed when he lost control of his power. Danny is causing this due to her incredibly powerful psychic power, and she can create illusions based on the other inmates' fears, and has been causing all of this inadvertently as her powers started to manifest themselves. This gets the attention of Reyes, who deems her a threat to life and is instructed to terminate her by the Essex Corporation. Now, the Essex Corporation, if you don't remember it, they took Wolverine's DNA in Apocalypse. This corporation was founded by Nathaniel Essex, who later went on to be Mr. Sinister. Nathaniel was a biologist in Victorian England who was not very moral when it came to experiments, and discovered a mutation and sought funding for his experiments, but he didn't get it, so he went underground doing awful things. But Apocalypse later turned him into an immortal being, and throughout history he created mutants and just generally did awful things. This Easter egg in the movie was supposed to lead to Gambit debuting and Channing Tatum's solo movie of the same name, but that never materialized. While being experimented on, Danny can see visions of a facility with mutants being tortured and made to train to kill. This is very similar to the Logan movie, and where X-23 was in a facility, and other mutants as well. Now, Singer actually wanted the Essex Corporation and Sinister storyline to play into Wolverine 3, but when James Mangold took over it, he vetoed it and decided not to do any of it. So weirdly, this is actually a lost splinter of time, and this was supposed to be a direct sequel to X-Men Apocalypse, but this storyline is now going to go nowhere. But with Danny now fully out of control, the fears of everyone become real as Reyes managed to actually be stopped by the rest of everyone. However, the Demon Bear absolutely ripped her apart. It finally arrives to take Danny and the team to unify to defeat it. This is similar to the comics, like I said, when Danny was in hospital after being mauled by the bear and the team have to fight it in the Badlands. This is similar to the movie, but there's no astral plane and they fight it with Danny still knocked out and defeat the Demon Bear. Now, it's weird because they've made a big thing about fears becoming real, but this Demon Bear was actually technically real. It's very weird the way they've done this because it doesn't seem like this is a real thing, which it was. It killed her parents, and the storytelling here just does not work whatsoever. Now, with Reyes dead, they're free to move on, and I would fully expect if there was a sequel, the team would eventually find Charles Xavier's school and explain what has happened, and they would tell them all about the Essex Corporation, and the next X-Men movie would lead to a huge battle against the X-Men, with the New Mutants against Mr. Sinister, which I think would be really, really cool, to be honest, if Fox were competent at making X-Men movies. Josh Boone, the movie's writer and director, said he has no idea as to where it fits in with the timeline because, well, it fits the X-Men timeline very well, but it doesn't fit in with the MCU, and he kind of explains how they made it, and really they made it of the time, so it doesn't fit in really anywhere after the acquisition of Fox by Disney. However, weirdly, Storm was originally going to be in the movie as a warden. I'm glad that never happened. But there was supposed to be a post-credit scene which was scrapped by Josh Boone, as it would kind of insinuate there's going to be another movie. Now, I highly expect this might have been Gambit or another Mr. Sinister Easter egg as well, because that seemed like where they were going for quite a while. But for now, this is the end of the road for Fox's X-Men, a 2-decade spanning universe which deserved more. Now, while I did enjoy the movie, it just needed to decide what it wanted to be, as the gamble to make a great horror movie failed. It wasn't scary or chilling, and it straddles the line of Breakfast Club / new teen movie like we saw in X-Men Apocalypse. The movie couldn't really kind of go anywhere, and really it felt built around the wrong character, as Moonstar just sadly wasn't that interesting, and really Ileana sounded like she would have been a better lead for this. Maybe it's the writing as well, but I think if they made it about Ileana, it would have been a bit more interesting, as she seemed more fleshed out, had more charisma than the rest of the team combined. However, there is a bit of a backlash about some racism towards Daniel Moonstar as well. I won't comment on that, I'm just presenting that to you guys as well. But that is it for this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Please just drop a like, please do subscribe, and we will have a Tenet video for you very, very soon. And thank you for the love on all of those videos. And I will see you soon, and goodbye.